just had to unmute myself. Again, welcome everybody. Yes, we have a new name. Instead of the Membership Exchange, we are now called the Noon Zoom. And I thank Sheila Wilkes for that change. She was talking to friends of hers about the last meeting we had and got all excited and said, yeah, we have a Noon Zoom that we have once a month with our district. So therefore, we have a new name. The current environment teaches us about how to be flexible for sure as things change in this very fluid environment. But some clubs have already moved on to a hybrid model, or as they call it in Genesee Valley, a bionic model. So I've asked President Joe today to join us and talk a little bit about how Genesee Valley is engaging their members with their bionic meetings. Joe, tell us how it works.
Yep. So a little back story. So we started canceling our normal in-person meetings as of March 13th. Then we started right back up March 26th with our first Zoom meeting. We did that for a couple months. Then in June, we started getting some speaker chairs together again and getting speakers back presented with our club. And then on June 30th, we had our first in-person meeting for our installation picnic. And then since then, we've been doing what we call a bionic meeting. And I do apologize. I do have some recording of that that I should be able to share with everybody here shortly. But what it is we have a nice conference room with a big screen TV we hook a laptop up to. We have roughly 10 members in person, and then the remainder of the club on Zoom. We still have speakers attend. We've had a few in person and a few on Zoom. And we engage pretty well. We try and have a little cameraman. If not, we just move the laptop camera around. And we have a portable microphone that we carry with us to ask questions and always make sure our guests that are in person are looking at the Zoom lens, presenting themselves in the question so everyone can see, and we're all, it gels pretty well. It's not exactly what we'd want, but it works out very, very well. It keeps the majority of our members engaged, for sure. So with that, I don't have any plans of moving away from that until everything with this great pandemic we have going on changes.
Joe, this is Assistant Governor Al, and having attended your meeting both in person and via Zoom, and actually been a speaker via Zoom.
Yes.
I must say that it works very well. And I actually think this means of meeting is going to survive past the COVID, in that we have older clubs, we have snowbirds, we have people who, we were just talking about that this morning at our club. Somebody may not be able to get to a meeting because of business commitment, but if they have a Zoom option to fall back on, they can still participate. So that's great. So kudos to you, and we're all going to try and emulate what you're doing there at Genesee Valley. So.
Yeah, it makes it really easy, and you would say too, Al, as being a presenter, to share your screen. You know, our process is pretty smooth as we're all on Zoom, and we know the ins and outs of it pretty well by now.
Yeah, you do a fabulous job, and again, congratulations, and we'll all try to emulate you. One of the two great things happening within our Michigan clubs, and I have the honor to introduce our second speaker from the state of Michigan. I'm not sure if Ray, the president of the Flint Club, is on. I don't see him as a list of panelists. He might have joined in another means, but we do have Marc Schillinger, and Marc is the individual, and he's on now, who basically spearheaded a project on behalf of the Flint Club to provide clean water to the people of Haiti. And I'm going to turn it over to Marc to spend a couple minutes telling you about what he and the Flint Club was able to accomplish. So Marc?
Thank you, Assistant Governor Al, and thank you, Governor David. It's an honor to be able to expose the project to Michigan and Canada all at the same time. So what I'm going to do here is share my screen. I'm going to fly through this. Hopefully you'll get the gist of it. I've been involved with Rotary as Living Water Haiti in partnership since 2003, and we drilled 10 water wells up from the Bad Axe Club in the Thumb area of Michigan from 2003 to 2009, and then I moved my business to Flint, and I joined Flint there, and we started on a second project. And I'm going to just tell you real quickly what happened. Of course, everybody knows Haiti is a very poor country in the Caribbean. About 11 million people, household income of about $290 a year. It's a real tough place to live. This is some of the living conditions in Haiti. And the further you get out from the capital city, the rougher it gets. This is a recent shot, the result of the second project. The first project, as I mentioned, was 10 water wells. And we have 9 remaining as a result of the earthquake. This is the result of the second project that we just finished with Flint in March of 2020. Let me see, this is just a quick shot of the country and where those first 10 wells were drilled through the Bad Axe Club up in the Thumb area, District 6310. They're all east and south of the capital city of Port-au-Prince there. This is a shot of the completed wells. I want to draw your attention to the one on the left there. The rotary seal is right in the wet cement there. We built a 1/4 inch cast iron wheel out of a PDF file. So it's pretty cool. And then after 2010 earthquake, we had issues drilling water wells. The well drillers were not comfortable in providing firm estimates. And of course, that's problematic when you're working with Rotary. So we went to a rainwater harvesting method. And I want to say it right up front here. This always has been a faith-based initiative for me from the beginning, which is why these wells and each of the 10,000 gallon tanks that are in now are all built on church property. Where it came in handy with the rainwater harvesting idea was we're collecting water off the roofs of the churches, and they tend to be 80 to 100 feet in length with a tin roof. It's a perfect opportunity to harvest the water off the roofs and plumb right into the tanks. As I mentioned, the 5 10,000 gallon tanks are now in and up and running as of March 2020. That would be considered our second project. This is a kind of an idea of what it looks like. It's very simple. It's PVC piping that we put along the roof edge. It's lightweight PVC. We cut a slit in the top of it, about 2 inches wide, catches the water, and you can see it plumbs it right into the tank there. And there is some video here. So not a great picture, but it gives you an idea of what's going on here. That's a 10,000 gallon tank. And it's 20 foot in diameter. Very effective. This is a picture of a foundation being built right next to a church building, getting ready for a tank. These tanks are going to be placed basically north and east of the capital city. Well, they are. That's where they are. They're in place. That's just a little bit about how the money worked with it, but that's all changed here recently. This is a really good shot. I'm looking at my countdown. I got about a minute and 50 seconds to go. This is a completed tank, one of the 5. You can see the plumbing there on the church building, and I want to draw your attention to the red box. That is the filtration system, and it's working very well. Here is the result again. This is really great. This is, I think, the first one actually was completed in the village of Marin, filling up their their water bottles. Another shot of that. So that's our second project we just finished, and we would like to start another project, which would be the third project. Flint will host it, and we're reaching out to Area 7 and of course all of the rest of the clubs in District 6330. And will be in the south part of Haiti, there along that southern peninsula. It says Jacmel. We've never done any work in southern Haiti, but we're going to do 5 tanks right on the coast there between Jacmel and a small town called Valence. So that's a fast track as to what's going on with Living Water Haiti and Rotary. And this next project, again, the third project, it'll be a $73,000 project. And the match from the foundation used to be close to 1-to-1. So it would have been, we would have to have raised about 36,000, but we lost one of the major matches because of COVID. The money has gotten short over there at the foundation. And that means that we're going to have to raise $56,500 roughly for a $73,000 project. So that's why we're reaching out to some more of the clubs. This is just my contact information. This is the last slide. If you want to call me, you can call me anytime. That's my cell phone there, 248-602-1542. Livingwaterhaiti.com will tell you an awful lot about me and where Living Water Haiti has been and plans to go. That is it. Thank you very much, Governor David. I'm going to send it back to you.
Well, thank you, Mark, for that presentation on Haiti. I'm sure we will be able to generate a lot of interest in the coming months so that we can support that project that you're working on.
I just wanted to tell everyone how proud we are of the job that Mark is doing. It is absolutely tremendous and so beneficial. We're continuing to support him in every way that we can. And we're looking forward to an additional grant for Mark in order to continue what he's doing. As president of Flint Rotary, we have 120 members at this time, and we're strictly virtual. I just heard the first presentation about how the club is being run, and we're averaging between 28 and 38 members online, and we meet every Friday. I just wanted to give an update on that information. And thanks for having us.
Thanks again, Ray and Mark. It gives me great pleasure now to introduce to you 3 former exchange students that were in District 6330, starting with Claire McDonald, and then we have Jan Ludwig, and we have Elizabeth Wallace. So if I can ask the 3 of you to open up your videos and people can see you. Okay, this is great. First, I'd like to ask each of you to start off is when and where was your exchange year? Which club sponsored you and which club hosted you? Let's start off with Claire.
Sure. I was hosted in 1982. Actually, first of all, I came from Zimbabwe. And I was hosted in 1982 by 2 clubs, Alvinston and Petrolia, and I split my time between families in each of those locations.
Okay, Jan?
Hello over there. I'm from Germany, and I spend my time in Owen Sound for the whole time in a club of Owen Sound in Ontario, Canada. And I was there in 2002, 2003.
And Elizabeth.
Hi there. I was an outbound Rotary Youth Exchange student through District 6330 and in 2009 and 2010. And I was sponsored by the Rotary Club of Huron, Michigan, and hosted in Chile by the Rotary Club of Curicó, Chile.
That's wonderful. Okay. Let me start off with Claire. What was your greatest challenge as an exchange student?
Well, that's a tough question because I don't recall too many challenges. I was lucky in that English was my first language.
Yeah.
So that part was easy. My families were all wonderful. I had 4 host families. I suppose it was probably being away from my parents, but it was such an incredible year that I don't recall much anxiety on that front. And I had regular communication with them. So when it comes to challenges, that's really not something that sticks in my mind as being part of my experience.
Now, you had a different experience when you went home to Zimbabwe. You and your family did something, what was it, the following year?
It was, so that was 1982. And then in 1985, one of my host families sponsored my family to immigrate to Canada. So that's pretty life-altering. Times were pretty tough in Zimbabwe at that time. The political scene was not stable. It continues to be unstable. And my family dearly wanted to make the best for us. And the Jakes family sponsored us. And that is where I have been and raised my children. Thanks all to this program.
Okay, Elizabeth, I'll ask you because I know English is your first language and you went to a country that speaks a different language. Did you have to overcome any language barriers?
I did. My Spanish was very minimal when I went to live in Chile. So I think language was maybe one of my biggest challenges. I think it was very difficult not being able to connect with the people around me, with my family, my classmates, and it felt a little bit lonely right at first after the fun and newness wore off after the first month. So for a month or two, it was very difficult before I was able to gain and navigate the Spanish language. After about 3 months, I think I felt pretty comfortable, and after 6 months, I felt quite fluent.
Okay, Jan, I'll ask you, do you view geopolitical borders differently as a result of your youth exchange experience?
I would say I certainly do. As I said in the beginning, I'm from Germany. Now I live in Switzerland. I'm actually right now applying to become Swiss. My wife is Spanish. My kids are half Spanish, half Portuguese. So my kids are now from 4 different backgrounds, basically. And where I live here, there are tons of people. So I personally don't see myself anymore as German. Rather see myself as European. And you could put that in a wider perspective as well. So for me, except for the whole COVID situation right now, I would say there are no borders anymore.
Okay, I'll ask the three of you, what were some of the cultural differences you had to recognize and adapt to, and how has that shaped how you view the world today? We'll start with you, Claire.
Oh, great. You know, it's super interesting. I grew up in a country where apartheid was that's how I was raised. And I came to this country where diversity and inclusion is fundamental and just part of the fabric of this country. So I would say that was probably, and I don't think I was conscious of it at the time, but I would say that that's probably been something that really has changed my perspective on life and how I interact with people. And that's a good thing.
Elizabeth?
I think something that was quite different was the inherent warmth and affection of the culture in Chile. There was a lot of affection, and sometimes that manifested in from the beginning, I had to get used to greeting everyone with a kiss on the cheek, and that was something that was uncomfortable for me. But I think that permeated really deeply into even my relationships with my classmates and with my family, and truly feeling loved very quickly by the people around me. And that is something that I carry with me and try to share with people in my day-to-day life. I don't go around kissing everybody to greet them, but I really try to make the folks that I work with feel truly cared for, and my friends and family to truly feel loved and really share with others how much I care for them.
Jan.
Now I have to go last, right? I must say that really didn't change much during the exchange. I think it just got more. I was raised by my parents quite open to different cultures, people, everything. And even though you'll have to cross the Atlantic to come from Europe or Germany to Canada, I think that part wasn't that different. But meeting all those different exchange students and seeing how they are, and my still best friend from exchange, Jack, he's from Taiwan, and he was my first real contact to Asia, and that shaped me more than being in Canada, really. But in a way, the Rotary Youth Exchange had an influence there as well. Not the Canada-Germany part, but the rest.
Okay, what thoughts do you have as Rotary assesses the youth exchange program in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic and the political unrest in some countries? I'll start off with you, Claire, again.
I've won the lottery, haven't I? Wow, that's got to be tough for the program, I would imagine. I don't think you can live that experience virtually. So I assume that you probably put a pause on it for now. I'm not sure how you could get beyond until things do get solved on that front, or until we have a vaccine or people feel comfortable traveling between countries. I certainly don't really have any advice on how you could keep it moving. So I hope that, we all hope that this nightmare is going to be over soon, and you know, the sooner you guys can get back to putting people in these placements. It's just such an incredible experience that I really hope you can move along with it soon.
Jan, being a physician, how do you see that?
I see this totally different. Like I think it actually should keep on going, even during the COVID pandemic. I think you have to look out, but basically you can be infected everywhere. And if there are taken certain measures, then I think you can keep a great project like the Rotary Youth Exchange running even with the pandemic. You should certainly look at how much traveling do you do, how big are the conferences and stuff like that. But there have been different diseases, viral or bacterial, for thousands of years. Coronaviruses have been around for thousands of years. This one is a new one, yes. And you have to be cautious. And everybody here, at least, basically is. Our numbers are way higher than in Canada. Fortunately, not as bad as in the US. But if you take precautions and be alert, then I think the project can still run. It's rather a matter of crossing the borders, as here in Europe we're closing down again, actually. So I just canceled my holidays to the Netherlands in 2 weeks because my brother and my father from Germany cannot go. So that's more of a problem than, I think, seeing other people, because you see other people in your own country. Why not see other people from other countries?
Yeah, Elizabeth, now you're living in the Detroit area, which is part of District 6400 now, which is one of our 20 Rotary districts in the Central States Youth Exchange program. And of course, Central States had to cancel the Youth Exchange program this year, you know, at the advice of Rotary and a lot of other factors, okay? First of all, we closed the Canadian-US border, and of course, many countries would prohibit flights from US or to the US, and so, you know, we're faced that sort of thing now. We recently had a board meeting with the Central States Board, and of course, we are now weighing the 2021-22 Rotary year. And so we are hoping, like I agree with Jan, I would like to see the program continue, but we have to be very cautious, and there's a lot of apprehension about that. And of course, we have to have our borders open, we have to have our consulates open so we can get visas and so on and so forth. So what is your, take on what Rotary can do in terms of having the exchange program for the, during the COVID year?
Yeah, I think I guess I sit kind of evenly in between Claire and Jan here. I think it makes a lot of sense that Rotary had to cancel for logistical reasons this year. If I was running the organization, I think that would be the decision that I would make, just in terms of liability and in terms of how complicated and with all the borders being closed. So I think it makes sense. However, I do agree with Jan. I think that there have been many issues that Rotary has managed in the past through Rotary Youth Exchange. And I think that it's still a really valuable experience. And there is, I think that while it would be different given the COVID pandemic next year, and how norms will be a little bit different, hopefully we're in a place where it's feasible and can be done in a safe way. When I was an exchange student, there was a major earthquake in the city in Curicó, in Chile, where I lived, that destroyed my first host family's house, where we lost electricity, power, water, internet for a while. And I felt completely safe and cared for by Rotary. I see that my youth exchange officer in my club in Chile is on the call here. And I felt absolutely cared for and safe. And because of the way that Rotary really cares for the students, I think if it continues, I think it would be a safe and really feasible and still a valuable experience.
I still have that green chili shirt when you were doing the fundraising for that. Still have it. That was great. Okay. Host families. Now, I know we have a number of host families that are on this webinar, and I first of all thank them all for being host families, and some of them have been host families multiple times. And so I'm very glad to hear that your YO from Chile is on, because without host families, we would not have a program. And so families that host youth exchange students also experience language and cultural challenges as they teach and learn. Do you have some memorable moments with your host families? So I'm going to start with Jan this time. You were hosted in Owen Sound. Tell us about some of your hosts, and I'm sure some of them are actually watching.
Oh, hopefully not, right? No, I had 4 awesome host families. They were all totally different. It made it quite interesting. And the interesting part is that before going on exchange, I was scared to adapt to a family, be happy there, and then Rotary is taking me out and putting me somewhere else, and then it's terrible, and that family is, not caring for me and stuff like that. But a totally different thing happened. So I had great time there with all of the families. A most memorable moment is quite hard because there are certainly a lot. But my most awesome time that I always like to think of is with 2 of my host dads, Dave and Bill, who are both they're cousins. And they are known through Rotary to fight each other during the club meetings. And find each other to huge extents. And I went to Niagara Falls with them on motorcycle. I was not riding the motorcycle. And the one is riding his Honda, and the other one is Harley. And they were fighting each other the whole trip and making fun of each other. And I just felt so at home with all of the families and with the two of them. And yeah, that's one of my memories, but there's certainly more.
Claire, how about you?
Yeah, I'm with Jan. I think trying to define one particular memory is tough. I also was really lucky. I had 4 incredible families, and they were all so different. In Alvinston, my first family were the McKinleys, and I see Bert's online. Hey, Bert. And they were a young family, farmers with a couple of, or one young child at the time. And then my next family were the Chapmans in Inwood, and they were empty nesters at that point. And then my third, the Jakes in Petrolia, was a family of 5. And the last of the Terpstras, I think there were just so many Terpstras. I think there were 3 when I was there. And that experience of, I grew up in a family with 1 sister. So that variety and having to share my space and time, and that was really defining for me, I think. But like Jan said, you had some trepidation about having to leave one family. These ones are so great. What's going to happen next? There was no cause for that. Everybody was so caring and amazing. And, I think that people who offer up their homes and their hearts to strangers for that length of time really are incredible. So thank you, all of you.
Okay, Elizabeth.
Yes, I guess similarly, it's really hard to pin down just one memory. I think a lot of my memories kind of melt together into a general sentiment. I had 2 really amazing families that I loved very much and very differently, and were very different experiences that I gained a lot from. And I think my overall memory with my host families, just the time that we spent together. With both host families, we spent almost every Sunday afternoon having a big family dinner. Sometimes extended family would join, or having kind of lunch dinner. And we spent the whole afternoon together, and it was just a beautiful time, I think. And really, my memories, I think the most memorable are even more recent. My recent memories after my exchange. I've stayed in really close contact with my host families. And one of my host sisters had a baby who is my nephew. And I actually was just visiting Chile and got to visit my family in February, just before everything kind of imploded with the pandemic. So yeah, I guess maybe meeting my nephews and seeing the family that I built 10 years ago grow is the most memorable.
You guys are giving me goosebumps. I'm telling you, just having you relate these wonderful stories. Let me see. What do you think your greatest takeaway from the exchange was? Elizabeth, we'll start with you.
Okay. I think, well, I know that I would not be the person or the professional that I am today without Rotary Youth Exchange. And my biggest takeaway would be that there's something to learn, and there's something to learn from everyone and every culture, and it's really important to learn to look at everything from many perspectives. I learned so much, and it's really helped my time in Chile really helped me to start to look at the world and everything that I did and encountered from a Chilean perspective, and really realize there's a totally different way of looking at things. So now I take that mentality of trying to examine anything that I encounter, whether it's at work, whether it's in a personal situation, a family situation, from different perspectives, and see how we can work together to move forward in a way that's positive for everyone. rather than solely, focusing on myself and what makes sense to me.
Claire?
Yeah, I don't know that I can add a lot to what Elizabeth said, because I would say that I have exactly the same sentiment. Just expanding your view of the world, interacting with people with different backgrounds, especially when you come from a country with such sort of rigid perspective as I had growing up in Zimbabwe, Rhodesia. I would say that gaining that worldview is absolutely probably the biggest takeaway.
Jan? Your greatest takeaway. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Mute, sorry, now I'm there, sorry. I actually don't have much to add there. I'm totally agreeing with both of them. Well, meeting my host families, the other exchange students, people from the project, and most of all, Jack from Taiwan, and developing the friendship that we still have, Karis, and yeah, probably will keep on lasting, and we've been seeing each other all the time. So yeah, that friendship with a lot of people, and especially with Jack, I think.
Okay, we have over 100 people online right now, and I just want to ask you, do you have any insights on how Rotary could promote this program to clubs, potential host families, and eligible students? Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I'm not really sure. I haven't been at a Rotary meeting for a very long time. I actually was briefly, well, a couple of years. I was a member of the Rotary Club of Whistler, where I lived for 10 years in BC. So I'm not sure what the marketing program is currently, but I do think that some kind of social media presence for the exchange students is probably a no-brainer. You know, things like this, I think, would probably inspire people to want to apply. As far as host families, all I could say is if the opportunity came for me to host somebody right now, I would absolutely embrace it. I think word of mouth is probably a huge component. And, you know, I guess just growing your membership and expanding it and keeping it as diverse as you can, making it as diverse as you can, will be a win.
Okay, we have a question from one of our viewers, past district governor Dennis Dinsmore. He asks, as a grandfather of 4 kids who are potential candidates for youth exchange, at this point, we have to look at the risk versus the reward. If the alumni speaking, if you 3 today, had to make a decision to send out your own children, what would you do? Would you send your children out on exchange?
Shall I go first?
Sure, John.
I have 2 kids. They're way too small right now, but I would certainly encourage them to go on exchange, because I just gained everybody actually that I know that went on exchange grew as a person, met a lot of people, and gained one thing or the other, and that's not just viewing from the language side, which a lot of people just see. So everybody should encourage their well, children, grandchildren, whoever, to do it. But I think if a person decides, or a kid decides that for them they don't want to go, then don't pressure them to go, because I've seen 2 cases or 2 inbounds to the club that sent me out to Canada. The one was from Russia, and the other one I don't really remember. And with him, after a couple of months, they found out that he didn't really want to go, but he was sent out. If that really is the case, I don't know. I just had that one input, and that doesn't make sense. The person or the kid has to decide for themselves to go, and yeah.
And I can build off of that as well. I would also absolutely encourage my children to go and be youth exchange students. It is absolutely the most valuable experience to this day in my life, in both a professional and a personal sense, even more so than university. And I think that there's a lot to gain. But I also agree. I don't think no one should be forced to go, because it makes the experience maybe not so positive for that student and for their families. But a way to encourage this, I think, is also starting early and having a lot of trying to expose children to the idea. I know that I met my first exchange student when I was about 5 years old and had it in my head since then that it was something I wanted to do. But having lived through a natural disaster during my exchange, still absolutely the most valuable experience, and I felt safe and cared for. And I think that there are, I guess, dangers everywhere in the world, and I think that this experience fully outweighs any issues that there might be.
May I add something? May I add something?
Mm-hmm.
Just to your last question, Don, that question, like, how do you get people to or clubs to participate in Rotary Youth Exchange in the long run? And it also connects with Elizabeth's answer just now, is that when I was on a youth exchange conference in London, Ontario, I think it was a mixture of London and Stanford, I think. I was staying with a young family who just happened to say, okay, well, we take you for one night because it's not that long, right? And then I stayed there the whole weekend, and then at the end of the weekend, they wanted that next year they want to host. So I think get the youth exchange students out there, get them to the clubs, maybe organize, like once COVID and the whole pandemic is a bit down, organize something where you get exchange students into the clubs, even into clubs that don't have exchange students at that moment. And then that way, just from the personal experience the people would have with those exchange students, either inbounds or outbounds, I think will certainly make a positive effect, just way stronger, I think, than billboards or whatever you can, or digital media, I think.
Good. Thank you very much. We're running out of time now, and I want to thank the three of you for participating today. We're getting all kinds of wonderful comments on the chat line there. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know that Central States has set a deadline for the 1st of February to decide whether it is a go or no go for 2021. So in the meantime, we are asking our clubs and our districts to, look at what they're going to do in terms of recruiting. We already have a number of students from last year who couldn't go out, who will probably be moved up the line, and hopefully they'll want to go out on exchange next year. One of our biggest problems is some of our partners may not be exchanging. For instance, Australia isn't exchanging next year, and Japan is not exchanging with the United States. But we certainly have other countries that are doing so. Most of Europe is pretty well, looking after it. So if you know of a young person who might be interested in this program, by all means, have them contact our district youth exchange and get them to make an application, through their local club. The other thing too is any of the former exchange students who are online right now, if you would like to do a very short video, about 60 to 90 seconds of what the Rotary Exchange program has meant to you, how it's impacted your life, send it to dis6330video@gmail.com. We are compiling a lot of these short testimonials that we're going to be showing through the next year. Next year, we are celebrating 50 years of Youth Exchange in District 6330. And I thank all of you who are online for listening, and please help us to promote this program within our district. We need more clubs to host students. We need more clubs to send out students. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, it's my pleasure now to thank Juan, Claire, Elizabeth, and Don. When Don and I talked about doing this presentation a couple months ago, Don was like, yeah, I'm all over it. And I think, Don, you did a great job today. What a wonderful experience hearing from three individuals who, we keep talking about how Youth Exchange changed lives, but I never heard of somebody's life changing where they go on Youth Exchange and move to another country because of Youth Exchange. And I think that's pretty phenomenal, Claire, and welcome. And for everybody out there, I just think that as we hear the testimonies and we know the experiences, we need to keep this program going, and we need to keep moving it forward. So again, thank you all for everybody attending today. I want to just start though, last night we had our kickoff for our End of Polio campaign in our district with your club presidents and with the foundation chairs from each club. And as we celebrate Africa being polio free, we have to make sure that we continue immunizing children to make sure that this doesn't start a second wave with polio. Rotary International President Holger Knack said it best when he said, we need to finish our commitment we made to our children years ago and fix our roof while the sun is still shining. And that's what we're going to encourage every Rotarian to do. So there's three things I want you to look at. I want to encourage you to promote and inform members, family members, members of your club, friends on this terrible virus. Facebook and other social media is the best way to get it out. We're connecting so well these days with Facebook and helping to get messages out there, make sure they're short and brief. And your district Facebook page will have posts over the next 30 days that you can share, or you can repost or do whatever you want, but just help to raise that awareness. The second thing we want to do is encourage you by having a End Polio fundraising event. Once you get the knowledge out there, people will want to donate, and we want to make sure that we have everything ready for you. We have created a link through RI that's going to be available so that you can send it out via email, via Facebook, whatever you want. That'll help to inform your friends and relatives that we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to end polio. And keep in mind, your $25 donation is matched by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which will be another $50. So $25 becomes $75, and that's immunizing a lot of children. So again, we would like you to celebrate with us. And at the end, on October 24th, which is End Polio Now Day, or the World Polio Day, we're planning on having the world's greatest meal. The world's greatest meal was created by Susan Ray from Australia, where she wanted to do something to highlight the importance of ending polio in her country. And it turned out that she's now doing it around the world. So as a district, we are planning on having a End Polio Polio Day at noon. We'll have a short video ready for you. It's 10 or 12 minutes that helps your friends and family, whoever's joining you. And I understand that COVID-19 has put us down in lockdown, and some people are concerned about how do we do one of these sessions. The best way to do it is the way that you feel comfortable and what goes with your community's restrictions. So we've got a web link that we're going to be sending out. There's information on our website. We will be continuing to inform you directly and as well through your club president, but we really, really want you to do what you can to increase our awareness of End Polio Now. So with that, though, I would like to ask Jim Swan to join us and take any questions and answers you might have from the panelists, from anything that happened today, and take it away, Jim.
Well, we have a couple of questions for Marc Schillinger, and I'll get to those in a moment. But first, an observation that from folks that the youth exchange students are from all corners of the globe, and we now have a global passport club. And the question is, how can we invite people to join them? Well, we just happen to have the Global Passport Club president, Tanya Wolf. She's the charter president of the Rotary Global Passport Club. She's on the call. So Tanya, what say you about inviting youth exchange students to the Global Passport Club?
Wow, we have an invitation to all of the past exchange students out there from anywhere in the world. We here in 6330 have designed a way to bring you back into the Rotary family in a way that fits your life. So a Passport Club is a Rotary club that gives its members a flexible club experience. So this is done by encouraging you to visit clubs where you live or work and participate in their club activities, by possibly relaxing attendance policies, and by offering a variety of meeting formats with affordable dues too. The Rotary Club of Global Passport chartered in June 2020 as the second passport-style club affiliated with District 6330. This group focuses on international projects and fellowships and friendships. We are target recruiting young professionals who are past Rotary Exchange students or possibly Rotaractors, and we're creating the opportunities necessary to welcome them back into the Rotary family. Our members so far represent 12 different nationalities. They live in 8 different countries, and they dial in from 7 different time zones. The past exchange students who are already members of this club live in Canada, Ireland, England, Germany, France, Thailand, Malaysia, and Spain, and that's so far. 4 of them are affiliated either as an outbound or an inbound to 6330. We also have several veteran Rotarians with international experience to provide a unique resource base. Our very diverse mix creates a balance of experience and innovation to ensure new ideas and success into the future. One of our goals is to have a board of all under 40-ish within 2 years. We hold a general meeting on the 2nd and 4th Wednesday in the month and have educational socials on the other weeks. Our members are currently involved in projects in several different countries, and we already have received approval for our very first global grant from the Rotary Foundation. We are supplying over $85,000 worth of medical equipment to a children's intensive care unit in Venezuela. So by offering these new flexibilities, we attract driven individuals from all around the world who are passionate about international service and friendship. And COVID or not, we were Zooming before Zooming was cool. So check it out and apply to join at globalpassport.org. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tanya. And I'm sure that some of those former youth exchange students will be interested in joining, and some other folks as well when they see the worldwide nature of the Global Passport Club. And speaking of worldwide, I said we had a couple of questions for Marc Schillinger. And Marc, one of the questions, I'll kind of combine the two of them on your Living Water Haiti project. One question is, how will they install new water systems in Haiti during COVID? And the other asks you to expand on comments about the water filtration system that's in place now and what that filtration system includes. Marc?
Okay. First question about COVID. Fortunately, Haiti has not been impacted hardly at all by COVID. The tanks were all completed at the end of March, and it was just starting, COVID was really rolling out at that time, but at that time there was no problem. And to my knowledge, it's very, very minimally affected as a country. And then I think the second question had to do with the filtration system. All the water goes through those red boxes, and each filtration system is about $1,400, so it's fairly elaborate. It filters as much as they can. To be exact in terms of what it actually does filter out, I would have to kind of look at that a little bit deeper.
Great. Thanks very much, Mark. And we have had a number of comments, rolling comments throughout the webinar from some former youth exchange students and those who are connecting. And I think that our panelists were able to observe some of those. And we are pretty much out of time. I would point out that you can find out more and learn about the program in 6330 by going to @Rotex6330. They have an Instagram page, and there are some exchanges there. So there have been rolling comments throughout the entire session, and it really underscores just how interested people are in the youth exchange program.
So again, thank you all for coming and have a great week.